Ahead of President Trump's meeting with Vladimir Putin, a longtime adversary of the Russian strongman is offering up some free advice. Bill Browder was one of the driving forces behind U.S. sanctions on Russia, known as the Magnitsky Act, put in place after his former lawyer, Sergei Magnitsky, uncovered a $230 million fraud involving Russian officials. Magnitsky ultimately died in a Russian prison after his arrest. Browder's advice for President Trump: do not engage Putin at all. In a new op-ed for Time, he writes, quote, "He will lie to you, flatter you, trick you, and betray you." Browder has also just filed a lawsuit against Denmark's Danske Bank, accusing it of being central to the fraud scheme uncovered by Magnitsky. Bill Browder joins us now to talk more about this. Bill, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Your advice, your list of advice to Putin in this column was rather stark, and I'm hoping you can walk us through it, because the last one on your list that you put on Twitter is that for Putin, money is greater than human life.
Well, so first of all, let's just start out with the whole arrangement as it is right now. We have a country, Russia, which has an economy the size of the state of New York. They have a military budget which is 90% less than the United States. And we have a leader of this country, Vladimir Putin, who's effectively a war criminal, bombing innocent women and children in Syria, taking over large parts of Ukraine. And he absolutely doesn't deserve to sit at the same table as the most important person in the free world. Just having this summit is an unbelievable gift to Vladimir Putin that he absolutely doesn't deserve and he shouldn't be having. And so as a first place, this summit shouldn't be happening. It's ill-advised, and Putin is the big winner before it even starts.
What do you know about Vladimir Putin that could help explain or take us potentially behind the scenes of what that room will be like? We know they're going to meet one-on-one, highly unusual, no other officials, no translators. What kind of advantage does that give Putin?
Well, so Putin is a guy who's very clever. He's been trained in KGB tactics. He was a KGB agent, a head of the KGB, and he looks for each individual's aspirations and weaknesses, and then capitalizes on them. And I should point out that the last two presidents that met with Vladimir Putin both thought that they could do business with Vladimir Putin. First, George W. Bush met with him in Slovenia in 2001 and looked into his eyes and saw his soul. And the next several dozen meetings turned out to be a complete disaster. And then President Obama had this idea of doing a reset with Russia, which turned into an even bigger disaster. And so all these individuals who go there, who are head of the United States, think that they can use their personal charm to somehow tame Putin, and Putin just laughs. He just thinks, okay, I can get a whole bunch of freebies before everyone starts getting mad at me. And nothing good is going to come out of this meeting. Putin doesn't deserve this meeting, and it shouldn't be happening.
You have a pretty intricate understanding of the finances, the kind of financial ties, how money is important to Vladimir Putin. One of our earlier in the show, Natasha Bertrand, was raising this question of, what is it that might make the president of the United States feel as though he needs to solicit Vladimir Putin? Is there some sort of financial tie? I mean, is that possible based on the president's previous business dealings, or what are you most interested in on that front?
Well, I mean, everybody's interested in knowing the answer. Was there collusion or wasn't there collusion? I don't think any of us have the capacity to predict that. There's one person who does, who is Robert Mueller. He has the capacity to wiretap, to subpoena, to prosecute, to turn witnesses, and he will come up with answers to that question. I mean, it's remarkable, the indictment that he issued on Friday, the level of detail, the inboxes of emails, the web addresses, who they belong to, the Bitcoin, the whole thing. He has the capacity to get to the bottom of this, and he will. Is there or is there not collusion? I don't think that I can speculate, and I don't think anyone can speculate because we don't have the information. It is odd that President Trump is being so kindly towards Vladimir Putin, but at the same time, his administration has actually been quite tough on Putin and his cronies. The Trump administration, while Trump is tweeting all these nice things about Vladimir Putin, his Treasury Secretary is sanctioning some of the biggest oligarchs, and anybody who knows what's going on in Russia understands that that's absolutely like a neutron bomb. So it's a very confusing situation as to who's doing what, why they're doing it, and what it all means. I'm most comforted by the fact that whatever happens at this summit, Congress controls whether sanctions get lifted, and those sanctions won't be lifted because Congress, the people I know in Congress, aren't going to lift them.
Yes, I would agree with that. The people I know in Congress probably would not either. Rick Stengel, can I get you to weigh in here on that the point that Bill was making about the disconnect between our government's policies and the way the president talks about Putin?
Yes, I just want to say, though, Bill Browder has been a real hero in his combat against Vladimir Putin. He'd been under unimaginable pressure from the Russians, and I would just commend him. And in that same vein, I mean, the Magnitsky Act, which grew out of Bill's trials there, is something that Putin hates. I mean, Putin desperately doesn't want to have the oligarchs to be sanctioned. Russia is an oligarchy, and his power comes through the people that he helps financially. And yes, I mean, to get back to your question, Kasie, the government speaks with two sides. I mean, Putin is always praising, Trump is always praising Putin, but the government is continuing those sanctions. What we have to watch out for in Helsinki is President Trump saying that he will relax those sanctions. That is one of the goals that Vladimir Putin has.
Natasha Bertrand, chances of that happening?
Of the president offering to relax sanctions? Well, he certainly hasn't ruled it out, just like he hasn't ruled out the possibility of recognizing Crimea as a part of Russia because so many Crimeans speak Russian. I mean, this is we have no idea what the president has put on the table at the summit, and that is part of the problem, of course, is that he's going to meet one-on-one with Putin, and we don't know what the agenda is. We don't even know what the president's Syria policy is because he would not elaborate on virtually anything when he was asked about it during a press conference last week. So just given his stance on what we've seen in the past, just, in terms of Crimea and lifting the sanctions and, the idea that Crimea already belongs to Russia anyway, I would not be surprised in the least.
Natasha Bertrand, Bill Browder, Rick Stengel, thanks to all three of you. Really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.